There's laws of economics. And I fear that, whether well-intentioned or not, the Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warrens of the world and their fans feel like we can just overcome these things, again, by fiat. We can just pass a law and raise more revenue. And the question becomes, what do we do if we pass a law and revenue goes down? Then what do progressives come up with then?
You raise the taxes. That's what they come up with. Here's the frightening thing to me is Bernie Sanders isn't talking about maximizing revenue. What he's talking about is cutting billionaires' net worth in half. He wants to pull people down. And I don't see how that helps. It reminds me of the Kurt Vonnegut novel, Harrison Bergeron, where they handicap the people that are successful and productive so that they don't make the people who are less successful and less productive feel bad. But everybody loses from that.
Well, it isn't about raising revenue per se. It is about hurting people. It's about this atavistic need to equalize society. It's about an egalitarian impulse. And again, egalitarianism is part of human nature. I understand it. Barack Obama was actually pretty honest and open about this. Michael Malice talks about this in his book, The New Right, where he says, even if capital gains taxes resulted in making the poor worse off, in other words, investment decreased and jobs at the lowest level went away, and as a result, unemployment amongst the poorest, let's say 10% of America, went up. So Barack Obama said, even if you could prove all that to me, I'd still be for a capital gains tax, simply because some people shouldn't have so much more than others. And this is, I like to hear the left saying this sort of thing honestly. And I accept that as a perspective. I understand it. That is a perspective. But we have to understand that's what this is about. This isn't about revenue. At the end of the day, this is about trying to hurt people who have more and ostensibly using that to help people who have less. That's something that's up for debate. But that's what this is about.
Well, part of it's not up for debate. There is no way that sort of system lifts people around the world out of poverty like free markets have done over the past couple of centuries. I mean, the whole idea that somehow you're going to go into a person's house if they have 50 silver spoons and you're going to take one of them away each year and you think society's going to be better from that, that's crazy. And it's going to create all kinds of unintended consequences. I mean, what do you think? What are some of the weird things that could happen, other than Jeff Bezos deciding to talk down his stock price at the end of the year so he pays less in taxes, which hurts everybody, or Mark Zuckerberg doing the same thing? What are some of the other unintended consequences that we might see out of this ill-conceived, poorly executed wealth tax?
Well, I think first and foremost, you'll see some very wealthy people leaving and renouncing U.S. citizenship and doing that before there's any new laws with respect to exit taxes. I think you'll see the very rich go work overtime to capture Congress and to control the lobbying process once again. So to create new loopholes, to do things that allow them exemptions. In other words, they're not just going to stand by idly and take this politically. They're going to put their money to work in trying to buy members of Congress. And what we have to understand here, though, is that ultra-rich people are, even if you take a billionaire, if you take away 90% of his wealth and he's left with $100 million, okay, he's still an absolute elite in society. So it's all relative. If you take a guy with $100,000 to his name and take away 90%, he's practically on the street. So that's the difference.
Well, just stop. What you just said is an amazing point that I hadn't thought of. If people are worried about the Koch Foundation investing in elections and so forth, if they're worried about that, that's going to happen on steroids the second you put in a wealth tax. And once they get monkeying with the wealth tax with their elected representatives, what other things might they be doing with those representatives? This could be like opening a Pandora's box of troubles for the market, and it certainly won't achieve progressive goals.